So the next project on the honey-do list is the pantry shelves. It's quite full. It's a fairly small pantry. But the problem is, I don't know how well you can tell in video, that shelf right there bows down from all the weight of the jars and the cans. You can see the cans are pointed to each other. Let me see if I can get in there. They're pointed to each other because it's bowed down so bad. That's about even with the shelf right there, and you can see how far down that's bowed. So, got to get all this emptied, which I believe the wife is going to do. And then I will build shelves in here. Got a buddy with some cypress boards he needs out of his way, so that works out pretty perfectly. And then we will build shelves. We're going to put the shelves back in about the same spot that these shelves are in. And they're going to be about the same depth, maybe an inch or two further out. All right, I went ahead and got started. None of this wood is square because it was cut with a sawmill. A friend had some extra cypress that he had cut for a project around his home, and he gave me some, so we're just using the cypress. So none of it's square, we're just kind of doing the best we can. I'll show you here. Gotten 5 of them, 1, 2, 3, 6 of them cut, so I have 4 more left to do. These are the raw boards down there. We're gonna put 2 of the around about 8-inch boards together. And then we'll cut a sliver of the 4-inch board, 4.5-inch board that we have left to make 18-inch shelves. So we're cutting these bad spots off best we can, squaring them up best we can. And these are some very pretty boards. They're gonna be super pretty whenever they're stained. So looking forward to the finished product, but working with non-square boards is not the easiest, so we're just doing the best we can. So what I'm trying to do is, since I want to cut that bad end off, put the tape measure just this side of the bad end. And come to this side and make sure that it's 62 1/8 right there. That it's not going to be on a knot or anything that won't cut well on this end. Flip it over, make sure that side looks good, which it does. And that's how I've been cutting them. So before we get started doing the actual cut, we have to look down each side of the board and see which one's going to be the most square. Because on one of these boards, neither side was square at all. And the line went this way, and then I flipped it over, tried to cut the other side, and the line went that way. So the end is just going to be a little off. So it's bumping the wall on one side and the other side has a gap. But like I say, these are just pantry shelves. You know, they're going to be pretty in there, but they're not going to be perfect, but going to be good enough for what we're trying to do. So this is what I mean when I say they're not very square. See that one side goes out, that side comes in. That's what you get when you cut it with a sawmill though. I was originally going to try to use the table saw to straighten them up, but I'm no woodworker. You could pop a chalk line, I'm sure, and try to cut down that, but for pantry shelves, it's just gonna have a gap. It'll be good enough. Alright, we have the main 8-inch boards cut. I'm gonna cut these later. We decided to go with 16-inch shelves. That way I didn't have to rip these into 2 inches. And Miranda put her arm up there and was trying to reach to the back of the shelf, and she didn't want any longer than we currently had, which was 16 inches. So that worked out really well for me, I'd say. So we'll rip those down later to provide a trim piece of the front. And we've got that really pretty board right there that I may have to do a vertical piece on the very front of it if I need a little more strength. So fixing to get the sanding. We're going to start with a 60 grit and then finish up with a 220, make sure they're all smooth, and then we'll stain. Whew, sanding this stuff's no joke. We got 6 of them done, and this one's done when just this little bit of red spots are done. I've done only like one board, Miranda's done the rest, but these parts where it's more of a raw bark wood part, killer sinuses. It's taken so long, I don't know if you can see, yeah, you can see that pretty well. We planed them And the planer, I guess, I don't know if it was not sharp enough or what the problem was, but we're having to sand all of this down from where we planed them. So it's a lot more sanding than just normal, but these boards are too pretty to just go to Lowe's and buy some pine. So we're putting in the work, even as big of a pain as it is. But like I said, Miranda's done most of the work. I've been doing other various things around the house while she's just sanding this. So get back to it. Last piece. You'll have to excuse the messy garage.
Wow. You've been busy. Look at that. That looks amazing. I love all the grains. Looks like a professional.
Well, you want to know what doesn't look like a professional?
Marks from the sander?
I didn't wear gloves.
Oh.
I've tried to wash my hands several times. So I learned.
Polyurethane going on.
Yep, I got half of this board left and one more, and the first side will be done.
These guys are looking pretty good.
Too bad these boards were rough cut and kind of jagged. So we're gonna have to fit them in like a puzzle piece, so we don't know which side is gonna be the up side. So we're going to go ahead and polyurethane both sides, a couple coats, and get it to where either side can be on the up side. That way, once I build the frame and get them in there, we just put them in there like a puzzle, see which one goes with where, and make sure they kind of match a little bit, and then we'll tack them down at that point. That's the plan anyway. We'll see how that actually works in real life. We have all the wire shelves out. Now we gotta remove all this hardware from the wall and patch it up. There's quite a bit of stuff in there. 4 rows of everything. So I set myself up a little jig here. This one. And I've been building on top of it to make sure that everything stays square. However, just like any other rough cut lumber, even though I planed it, the boards aren't square. And what's more, if you've ever lived in at least a contractor house and tried to do any projects, you know as well as I do that the walls aren't square. So the very first one I did, I went ahead, made it pretty. I boxed it up all the way over. Have a big box in there. And then I put it up and there was about a 1/4 inch gap. I'll show you what I'm talking about. There's the gap. It's against the wall back there, not up here. The walls are not square. Went ahead and set that up there just to kind of see what it looked like. And it looks pretty good up there. But because the walls aren't square, I had to beat it in. Marred up the wall pretty good in both of these corners. Of course, as you noticed, you can't see it until you get it way up high, so I'm not really going to worry about it. But for the next shelves, if they don't fit just right, I am going to notch off the end of them. I was worried about stain, but it's going to be up against the wall anyway, so that's not a big deal. But top one's done. I got that one. I got 2 more framed up out there. I have to get that lower one framed up. And then the only thing I have left is the bar across the edge right here. Actually, it's gonna go right here. She wanted this overhung a little bit so she can like hang some things from it, which worked out great because the stud, I'll show you on this one, the stud is past where the shelf needs to go. So it worked out great that she asked to have the side overlapping a little bit, and she actually asked for the right side to overlap, and that is the right side of the closet. So that worked out perfectly. It usually doesn't happen. But this side I'm able to box in, close, and make, well, I won't say make pretty, but make pretty for me. I don't do this every day, so I'm calling this pretty good. So this is the left side, and the stud is right where my finger is, which obviously you can't get to that whenever this board is on. So what I had to do is take these and run them at an angle to go into the stud back here. I'm using 4-inch screws, so there's plenty. I mean, when you have 2-inch studs and it gets countersunk, you got 1/2 inch of sheetrock. That only leaves, you know, a little over 1 inch. So 2, 2.5, that looks like that would be 3.5, but it's actually just a little over 1 inch. Once you get to right there, yeah, a little over 1 inch. So I wanted more in the stud than just 3-inch screws, so I had to go 4-inch screws because I don't have any 3.5s around the house. All the boards are set in place. I'm going to show you this one. This is just the frame like I showed you before, and I added this front piece like I talked about. I just screwed it on the front there, and then screwed it down at kind of an angle there. That one, even though I drilled it, that one split. So I put a split bolt, and we call it in my profession, put a screw through there to make sure that that doesn't split and come through. So this, I believe, is the one that she's going to use for all the canned goods. It's going to get heavy. So if this were to push down, that would not be a good day. So hopefully that split bolt, we'll call it, the screw, will keep that straight. So we just have to slide this through, get that in place, and then we take a finish nailer, nail these all the way around, and hope when we do that, it'll straighten out these boards that kind of warped a little bit as we were working them. So we started off with fairly straight boards, and as they dried out and as we stained them and then put the polyurethane on them, they kind of warped a little bit. But that's what it's mostly going to look like. It looks pretty similar to what it did earlier with the wire shelves. However, we did add that one shelf up top. She wanted 5 shelves. She can't reach it, but she's going to put stuff up there that she doesn't need to use all the time. And then the bottom shelf ended up just a little bit lower, but she had plenty of headroom above everything she already had stacked on the floor. So hopefully she'll be happy with this. I'll show you the finished product as soon as I get these nailed in. All right, the shelves look a little less out of control now that they're tacked into place. So I think they turned out pretty good. I am going to put a trim piece in the front here along the edge, but I need to wait a little bit, let her load these puppies up, and see if they start to bend. If they start to bow at all in the front, then I need to put a vertical piece up front and then a horizontal trim piece just on each side of the vertical piece. Sorry. So yesterday, I finished up and I forgot something. I didn't put any bottom braces in the middle. On that top one, she said she didn't need anything because there's not going to be anything heavy because she didn't want it to fall on her. Makes sense to me. So I had to come back today and add these braces. Luckily, I had some wood left over from when I built the deck, and that's all that is a little deck railing 1x under there. That'd provide enough support. And that's where she was testing out her shelves. This one's fine. That one got a little hairy. Still 1/2 inch though. We can work with that. And just like that, Miranda got the pantry stocked back up. Looks pretty good. She did a good job. And there's the heaviest, all the canned goods on there, and it's not bowing at all. So I don't think I need the vertical piece up front. I'm just going to make the trim and go horizontally across the front to hide the pine, and we're gonna call it done. And if for some reason later on it starts to sag and I need a horizontal piece, well, I'll just take off the trim on the front, cut them down the 4 inches of the width for the vertical piece, and retrim it. In lieu of trim, Miranda said, I wonder what it would be like if we just stained that pine. So we stained just a little bit to look at it, and she likes it. So I think my job just became a whole lot easier. I don't think I have to cut any trim for this. All I have to do is finish the stain. So we just gotta put some tape on the sides there, some blue painter's tape, that way it doesn't get on the wall, and just do the fronts. I don't even know if she wants me to do the underside. I'll have to figure that out, but that's good news, my friends. She liked the way that it looked without the extra trim. And here's the final product. Looks pretty good. Wife said she didn't want me to do the underside. You can't really notice it, plus it's pantry shelves. So, got a little bit on the wall right there, even though I had painter's tape on it. Looks like a knuckle hit the wall there or something that was above the tape. Maybe a brush with the rag. But even the painter's tape took off some of the paint off the wall. Oh, look, there's some more on the wall. So I will probably have to paint this. But that's not part of the project, so I don't plan on videoing that. But they look pretty good. Turn it up like this. There you go, now you can see it. I know it got tiny on YouTube, but you can see the whole thing now. So we're happy with it. Project complete.